Carl, back with another live discussion of my season one review of Jackie Chan Adventures. This is full spoiler review of Jackie Chan Adventures season one. Just saying that now. If you haven't seen Jackie Chan Adventures, please check it out. It's on Amazon Prime. You can binge watch the entire series if you want to. This is probably one of those TV shows that I'm just nostalgic for. I love that show growing up. I cannot believe it came out in 1999, late 1999. I thought it was like at least late 2000s. And I think it was that. I didn't think it was like technically a 90s movie, TV show. I did not know that. But, yeah, this show is honestly phenomenal. So much fun. It's just a fun show. And it's like a cool, like one of those, the few coolest representations of the Chinese people and their I want to say their backgrounds, but it's like just the day-to-day lives and stuff like that. Just like, and you get to see it through the eyes of Jackie Chan. And each episode, you get a little. It's like people mailing in questions to Jackie Chan, and you get to see like the voice actress who plays his niece in the show. Ask him for them, like are you like, have you been like afraid? Like, oh yeah, all the time. Like, especially when I do my own stunts, it's sometimes like, I'm afraid all the time, but like, I overcome that fear. Like, despite I do it despite the fear, because like I love my job so much. And just like even times when I broke something, just like that. Or if you get, Jackie Chan, do you have a favorite dessert? Like, I love ice cream. It's like you see him in like training sessions when he answering these questions too, and it's like he's such a badass. And pretty much it's like in the show, Jackie Chan is an archaeologist who with his uncle works in like a antique store in Chinatown of San Francisco. Now, while on one of his expeditions, he come across the shield that has like a talisman embedded into the shield with a rooster on the front. Now, nobody knows what that is initially, but there's a group of this gang called the Dark Hand, led by this guy called Valmont, who's pretty much like a kingpin of crime, and he's pretty much like in cahoots with this demon, this dragon called Shandu, who's like a statue that speaks to everybody. And I don't think it was ever explained how Valmont came across Shandu, but they are on a hunt for these magic talismans with the logo of the Chinese zodiac on the front of each one of those talismans, and each one has like a particular power that was part of Shandu. They gave him certain abilities that made him nearly unbeatable in ancient China, until like his subordinates turned against him, and using the power of like certain mystical spells, they removed these like powers into separate talismans, which resulted in him being trapped in some kind of like a statue, being able to not be a threat to nobody, essentially. Eventually Valmont came across him, so he decided to like make a deal, like, I would give you the lost treasure of, forgot the emperor's name, but just like some lost treasure, Chinese treasure, to fund your operations and you do what you will with it. I want my talismans, and I need. He says he needs himself to like go out into the world to do this, but he still holds a tiny bit of his power that is unique to his species, because he comes from a species of demons. But he's the lower level of the demon, ironically, despite his immense power. But we'll get to that in season 2. But the little sliver of power that is uniquely for his kin is summoning the Shadow Khan. He's like this like shadow ninjas that come from shadows and like fight on his behalf if need be. It's kind of like his like the Power Rangers putties. But anyway, when Jackie come across the shield and meet his like niece from Hong Kong that's staying with him and their uncle for a year in America, and like apparently she's been getting in trouble in school in Hong Kong, and she's trying to like thought her parents thought, okay, if you stay with your Uncle Jackie, you probably go, he's such a good man, he's a hard worker, you might learn something from him. Now of course she's hesitant because like she don't think she get much fun out here until she started seeing all this action going on around him. Jackie is confronted by the Dark Hand goons. He beats them up, realizing like his friend who's CIA, or was it FBI? I'm pretty sure CIA. Captain Black, who's an old friend of Jackie's. Everybody's looking for this shield, not realizing what's in the shields was important to everybody, and it's the Rooster talisman, which grants the ability of levitation. And of course, they all come after them, realizing what there's like at least 11 more talismans that we have to acquire before the Dark Hand gets it, and use it for nefarious means, which Captain Black wants Jackie to help, because since he's an archaeologist and one he can actually trust, because the Dark Hand got their feelers into almost everything. It's kind of like MCU Kingpin in a way, so he trusts Jackie, and his uncle and his niece Jade with helping them. But of course, Jackie's is very hesitant on bringing his niece along, because she sneaks aboard any little vessel or wherever he's going and trying to help out. When I was young, I always thought she was such a pipsqueak, and it's like, dude, like, don't you know what he's doing is so dangerous? You can literally be killed. Like, they have no compunction of killing you. Yeah, you got like one sickly looking guy looked like named Ratso, who ironically is voiced by the guy who did the voice for Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob. I forgot his name. Then you got like the leader of these little 3-man goon squad, Finn, who wears this disco suit all the time, and then I think Chow is the third one. It's like a little Chinese short guy who wears a leather jacket and always wears these orange sunglasses for some reason. And then you got Toru, who's this massive mountain of a look like a sumo almost, which ironically, he looked like a size of a sumo, but compared to I'm pretty sure in the next season he'll come across an actual sumo who's even bigger than him, which is like crazy. But Toru's like like a serious threat in the beginning of the season, because it's not something that Jackie can easily defeat in hand to hand, because he's just too big of a person. So they usually have to beat him with something that's bigger than him, or trip him up in some fashion. And it's like, I love when every time they interact, it's like usually the first thing he Toru says like, the talisman, John, the talisman. And I was like, yeah, the talisman. Yeah, it's like, yeah, we get it. Eventually, they come across like, yeah, the talisman. Yeah. But anyway, through a series of adventures, they, each episode they come across a new a talisman. Of course, you got like the horse talisman that grants healing. The dragon talisman that shoots out like dragon fire, almost like beams of dragon fire almost. You got the rat talisman that brings motion to the motionless. They always stuck with me, that line, motion to the motionless. But pretty much bringing inanimate objects to life. You got the rabbit talisman that brings speed. Tiger talisman that brings balance, but in the last 2 episodes it splits in half, which splits your dark half from your light half, which is like a great episode on its own. Like a great way to a semi in the first season where like Jackie gets his dark half and light half split up, and it's like Uncle had to explain like it's not the yang side is not evil, is just misunderstood, because the light side is needed to like how do you put it, about the light side to guide him. It's all about because a lot of balance metaphors in the in Chinese proverbs sometimes, it's like, or even martial arts, it's like, about discipline, balance. And it's like, like all of us, we have like yin and yang in us. It's like, we need our dark half in order to do certain things that our light half is probably gonna be too cowardly to do. The dark half probably gives our courage for the most part to do certain things, and while light half tempers that dark half to know when to reel it in, kind of situation. And I always thought that was cool. I always loved the Eastern mythology, usually more Japanese, but the whole Eastern stuff is so cool and so fascinating to me. And that's probably why I gravitated to the show as a kid, but I also love Jackie Chan as well. But then you got what are the talismans? You got the monkey talisman that calls shape-shifting, but into animals specifically. You got the pig talisman that calls heat beam or heat vision, pretty much. But in the show they call it heat beam eyes, heat beam eye blast, pretty much. But heat vision anyway. The dog talisman grants immortality. In combination, and you can use a lot of these talismans in combination with each other. Like rooster and rabbit in combination will grant flight, but dog and the horse will grant perfect immortality, healing, and immortality. You pretty much are Wolverine. But then I think like did I get them all? Like dog, dragon. Oh, the sheep. The sheep grants astral projection. Dog, dragon, sheep, rabbit, pig, tiger, monkey, rat. Oh, snake grants invisibility. Oh my god, no, I'm forgetting something. Let me look this up because I might be because you got 12 things in my memory like act like it's it's acting slow right now. Hold on a second. Okay, ox, super strength. Yeah, I knew I was missing a couple. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Got ox, super strength, which they met up in. That was the second episode. They went to Mexico where they met El Forte and Paco, his mini manager, this kid who was like a nice little parallel between Jackie and Jay, who Jay idolizes Jackie while Paco idolizes Forte to the same degree, thinking like they're like heroes, they're unbeatable, they're like, awesome. It's just like, but in that episode, like Paco did not realize, like, oh, like El Forte never removes his mask, which is like a common thing he always says. There's a lot of like quotable lines in the show, like Jackie saying "bad day, bad 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 day," or like Uncle's like "umo gwe gwe vivi sao," or like El Forte would never remove his mask, kind of thing. Those kind of things. Just for example, the rabbit was found in like embedded in like a shell of a turtle in another episode, which they come across this this like a poacher in a way, almost not necessarily a poacher, but it's like, well, poacher by proxy, because he pays people to capture rare exotic animals for him to eat, which is effed up. And they have to deal with them along with like the Dark Hand. And by the way, my Chinese zodiac is the dragon. I was born in the year of the dragon of 1998, which is cool. I feel like I got the coolest Chinese zodiac. And please leave a comment below if you're watching this on YouTube. Let me know what's your Chinese zodiac and what's your favorite talisman. Yeah, of course I'm all over the place, but the ox talisman, El Forte had it attached to his mask. He feel like, I'm never lose because I'm always strong, so I'm never gonna be beaten. So El Forte will never remove his mask, mostly because in luchador wrestling, the loser has to remove that mask, so he never loses, so he never remove his mask. That's their little ethos. But also in conjunction, because the talisman is on his mask and he doesn't want to lose his power, but not realizing, which is like a theme of the episode, it's like you gotta search the strength from within and not rely on the strength of others, kind of thing. And it's like you learn little philosophies in these episodes, which is so cool. I already mentioned about the tiger in that episode, and the dragon. The dragon is probably one of my favorite episodes when, because there's only a couple of times when the Dark Hand actually acquired a couple of talismans on their own, and Jackie and the team actually lose out on that. They lose out on the dragon and the sheep. But the dragon episode was intense because Captain Black, who doesn't believe in magic until the end of the series, at least end of the season 1, was like vehement about like not hearing about, oh, it's magic, and it's like he doesn't believe that magic. He's cynical about it. But then he took charge of, like, because the Dark Hand finally managed to acquire the Dragon Talisman and snatch it from Jackie Chan, which was a talisman to Valmont, because he didn't think for a while, they've been losing out on talismans every which way. But this is like, and this is like well before they realized about, like, okay, him and Shandu got into an argument because he's like a kingpin of crime. He, in his own right, he rules not only California probably for the most part, but definitely in certain parts of the US and here and there in certain parts of the world, according to Captain Black. And it's like, I don't want to be talked down to you. And it's like a theme of rage in this, because you're dealing with a dragon. Dragons, like, typically are like the fiercest, like, kind of animals. And it's like a theme of like anger in this, because Valmond's angry with Shandu from being taught to, and despite like their best efforts trying to acquire the talisman, he feel like I should be taught to, like, like I'm your peasant, and like that's not happening here. Then of course he took, once he acquired the dragon talisman, he didn't give it directly to Shandu immediately. He used it to, all right, I'm supposed to be promised this wealth from you, and like time and time again you reneged on the deal, and it's like I'm gonna get me some payday here, because I'm spending so much resources trying to go around the globe trying to find your talismans, and I'm not getting anything on my end of the deal at all, but lip from you. So he used the dragon talisman to like wreck shop to like U.S. Mint and all these other these various U.S. mints. I was about to say banks, but it's definitely mints, where you acquiring like gold bars and all these other cash flows. Which, by the way, this is a little, when we watch it on Amazon Prime, they give you little trivia things you can click on. One of the trivias they mentioned, which I did not know, U.S. mints hold coins typically. It does not hold gold bars like you would think. That's that's like a whole nother facility on its own. But U.S. mints hold typically coins. But anyway, Captain Black infiltrated, like they got a tip that Valmont is attacking a particular mint. He gets there with his a few of his team. He gets attacked by Valmont, and debris falls on him. He's ended up in the hospital, like in like a brief coma. And like Jackie, who views this man as one of his dearest friends, and it's like, every time somebody bring it up about like Captain Black and his condition, you see veins pop up on like Jackie's head, and he attacks something and shatters it, like with his like the sheer skill alone, like he hits like a vase was, like typical mafia things, like, somebody's in the hospital and like a mafia boss like sends his condolences with these flowers, and like Jackie, hits it and doesn't look like he did anything until Jackie walks away and it shatters in a million pieces, or a bookshelf that he kicks that shatters, and it's like, and like I said, it's all a thing about rage, and like it wasn't until the end of the episode where like when Uncle brought it up earlier, but it's like, well, it's pretty much like you have to temper your rage unless you control your rage before it controls you, kind of thing. And like Valmont didn't learn this lesson, but Jackie Indiana eventually had to learn that lesson. This is one of those lessons that Jackie eventually has to learn, instead of Jay, who typically learns certain lessons. And even like Uncle had to learn a couple of lessons on his own right here and there throughout the series. We'll get to that in a moment. But Jackie learned, through this experience that, I may be, angry about what happened, to my friend, but I'm not gonna let my rage control me. So that's why he used it to turn around and use Valmont's anger against Tim and let it consume him, which in the result caused him to lose tons of that gold bullion, which Captain Black eventually recovered from the ocean, which there was on like a dock area. Then the Shadow Khan eventually like took that dragon talisman away from Valmont, because he's upset because of the fact that like Valmont refused to tell him, and he's disappeared for like for like a day or so without speaking to Shandu. But yeah, that was an interesting episode. I love that episode. Still one of my favorite episodes. Then you got the snake talisman, which they acquired by meeting Viper. Now along the way they meet up with a certain like friends along the way to eventually help them in future endeavors, like El Toro and then Viper, which ironically she's like this African American thief. They meet up in New York where like this talisman is in like a New York museum, and like she's there to steal this diamond called the Pink Puma, while Jackie's there, who has to break in to a museum to steal a snake talisman, despite his efforts to warn the curator about thieves trying to steal this talisman. Doesn't believe him, so he had to break the law in order to save like the world essentially. But then with the eventually like a little one of those little like screw ups like you've seen like in typical movies where like two thieves break into the same place, their satchel full of their particular goods that they're looking to steal get swapped, that kind of thing. She used the snake talisman to like break Jackie out of prison, just to I don't know, just out of kindness in a way, because she kind of like Catwoman in a way from the animated series of Batman. But Jade thought to look up to her like because she always wanted to be like a badass in her own right, but she's too young to know her limitations. She's that youthful spirit, like you think like you could do almost anything, and like I don't want to be a secret agent. And it's like she looked at Viper thinking like, oh, like you definitely should, can you be my aunt? It's like kind of situation. And it's like I can definitely see like Viper and Jackie hooking up like towards the end of the series. I don't know if they did. I can't remember. We'll get to it eventually, but of course, like Jay had to learn that like certain people cannot be trusted despite what you might see offhand. But it's like the whole there's no honor amongst thieves kind of situation. But Viper, more or less, like I said, she's like Catwoman. She's more or less good, just not evil. She's just like kind of out for herself, but she's not like an asshole. Then we got the horse, which was like one of those like serious episodes, like at least one of the few serious episodes out this series, where Valmont poisons, or what the hell was Shan do with this mystical like formula, some kind of thing, or whatever the word would be called, poisons Jackie with this thing where he slowly starts to turn to stone, and if he doesn't get all the talismans that he acquired so far and hand it to them, I won't give you the antidote. Now of course this is around the time when they acquired a horse talisman, not knowing, because the way it described it is it doesn't flat out say it heals people. It just says like it removes foreign aliens, something like that, like it used the word alien, like these foreign entities and stuff like that, and they assuming like Jade assumes like, are you talking about aliens like outer space? And it's like no, there's no such thing as aliens to them, but and in this universe there's no such thing as aliens, but they just have to figure out how it works. But it wasn't until like the end of the episode when they see like Toru, who's getting sick, the horse activates and heals Toru instantly, and then they realize, oh, that's what the incantation means. It means like it heals foreign aliens from within, and viruses. So they used because like Jackie solidifies completely, but with the horse talisman automatically heals that ailment from him, restoring him to a man again. So I mean, it was like like the ticking time clock that's ticking away on Jackie as he like slowly just petrifies. and it was like, it was a little, not dour, but it's like you get to see like, Jay, worry, slowly starts to worry. Like she even like breaks in to like she had to break into like the Captain Black's what do they call that facility? Dang it. I'm blanking on the name, but like the headquarters of Captain Black's team, just to steal back the talismans in order to get the antidote for Jackie, because she doesn't want to see her uncle suffer. Despite, Jackie putting on a brave face for his niece, because he knows if he worries, she will worry even more. He has to be strong for her, despite what's happening to him. I thought that was pretty cool. The sheep talisman episode, not necessarily one of my favorites, but it shows like what the power does, and like Jay again playing around with it, in knowing like, hey, this is not something. It's not a toy. It's not a toy essentially. She was so eager to know what this thing does that she's like playing around with it behind everybody's back. And this is also an episode you've realized that Jackie has he's a sleepwalker. But when they acquired the sheep talisman, the hand, they used it to on Shandu, who astral projects out of his body and inhabited Jay's body while she is still astral projected, not knowing that they took that sheep talisman out of her hand while she was asleep. But there's like a whole ordeal where like Uncle came up with an incantation to expel the demon from Jay's body so Jay can hop back into her body again. But with that incantation, Shandu can't use that talisman again to break out of his petrified body, which is, don't know why, or it wasn't really fully explained, but he just could not use it despite him grunting and exerting frustration, trying to kind of squeeze it out again. But then we got the monkey talisman episode, which no, it's a interesting episode. Now, once again, not one of my favorites, but it was an interesting episode where you get to see the monkey talisman and actually see what it does. And it's just pretty much like playing like hopscotch with different animals, and everybody's grabbing onto the talisman, playing hot potato, chasing people back, chasing people to different animals, and chasing animals to other animals. Like they changed one monkey into a giraffe, and the giraffe trying to swing on vines, but it's too big and it can't do it. And that last part of the end of the episode was just like more just fun to watch. The dog and pig talismans like go hand in hand in the same episode. They find the dog talisman first. Uncle uses it once he realizes it, because it was around his birthday, and it's just like one of those episodes where it's like about like Uncle pretty much when he realizes like how like he's getting up there in age, and he's like it's just like he realizing like, oh, I'm not as young as I used to be, like I can do all these kind of things, but I can't anymore. And it's like he's just feeling his age. When the dog talisman restores the youthfulness of the wearer, he's pretty much like pretty much doing anything without any kind of mortal consequences, and a little bit more pep in the step even on top of that. But they also go, because they found like these two things in Bavaria, Germany, just on two different areas, but they found there's a little like carnival festival thing going on where they found a pig talisman, which a long time ago, when the talisman was scattered all across the globe, like some years later in Germany, some man found it, probably used it to ground or melt cocoa beans to make his world famous chocolate that made him his almost like a millionaire or billionaire. I'd like to think billionaire, but then he made that talisman his company mascot essentially. And his I think it was his grandson or great grandson, who I'm pretty sure his grandson, who is now the owner of the entire like company. And you know, the talisman is on this clock tower where, like, you know, it's like those cuckoo clock kind of thing. And that little pig is like part of the cuckoo clock, and like the talisman is right on the top of his hat. Now, this is an episode where you introduced to a new associate of the hand, of the dark hand, called shoot, what the heck is his name? Shoot. Hawk Fu. And ironically, the guy who voiced pretty sure is like looking at this. Please don't tell me that you know what I think this could be. I'm sorry, it's like, because I could be wrong. Okay, yeah, I might be wrong, because I thought like the same guy who did a voice for Yugi is the same guy who did the voice for Hawk Fu, who was like was the first time of his appearance. He what was his name? John Migio, died Migio. Could be butchering that name, but he also the voice of Marcus Phoenix of Gears of War. Just a little FYI. So yeah, it's funny because like he's a funny character because like he is like he's kind of like a joke on Dragon Ball Z characters or like certain like martial artists in anime that calls out their attacks, and it's like flying corkscrew, like bear trumps trout, like it's like butterfly smashes boulder, that kind of stuff. And it's like you gotta watch the episode to know what I'm talking about. It's so funny, and it's like he was the only person that actually like, you know, because mostly because he caught Jackie by surprise, but he's the only one that actually like tangle with Jackie and actually can like go, you know, pretty much, you know, toe to toe, you know, with Jackie to some extent. Was like, because he actually a serious martial artist despite him constantly calling out like his attacks, which is completely unnecessary, but it's like so funny. But then you got Uncle stepping in and actually like who's well more even more experienced than Jackie, really putting like Hafu to the test with his skills. But then of course Hafu like, you know, calls out one move, but then switches up to like a different move just to trip up Uncle, and he kicks him into like into I'm remembering correctly, into a brick wall that collapses on Uncle. Jackie and Jay thinking he died because it's like he got crushed by bricks, tons of bricks, but then not realizing like of course he got up, and it's like then he had to fess up and show Jackie that he's using the dog talisman. That's why he can easily he lived through that. But then of course Hafu got brought along because like everybody was like, so because when they Toru tried to snatch the dog talisman from Jackie earlier in the episode, he was on top of some windmill. Now he was using like they have this little item that the Dark Hand uses to seek out talismans, and it's kind of like these four-headed dragon, and one heats up in a particular direction, whichever like the talisman is. And then Toru fell silent and broke it, and like that was the last straw for Valmont and Shandu. And they bring in like Haku, who seems more competent, or at least to their eyes, he seemed more competent compared to Toru, who's been failing constantly every step of the way. And Hafu just constantly, jabs at Toru every chance he gets. Like, when they, go towards the festival in the middle of the episode, he like says this comment like, or at least Toru's like, where did we get our certs? And Hafu's like, I want to know. Like, I'm not the one who sat on the seeker. And like, yeah, you look that way and try not to sit on anything. And just like, as a kid, that there's like, that's messed up, but it's funny. And just the look on Toru's face is like, just sold the joke pretty much. But yeah, they eventually he ended up following Haku at the end of the episode in a funny way. But eventually Uncle relinquishes the dog talisman to Jackie so they can Section 18 is Section 13. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it says Section 13. Yeah, that's the headquarters of Captain Black. Section 13. Along with the pig talisman, and it's like and he was just more grateful for like this, probably like to him it's like the best birthday gift he could acquire, just to relive his youth one last time. And it's like it was like an awesome episode. I really like that episode. Yeah, and then of course we got the rat talisman episode, which is another one of my least favorite episodes. I really don't, it's not bad, but it's just like not something that's very entertaining. But yeah, that is pretty much like the episodes that I went over here. Like the Tiger Talisman was like a two-parter, and then once Shandu eventually acquires all the talismans through the help of the Dark Jackie side, and they defeated Shandu by trying to find the rat talisman to because Uncle put this like a magic potion over Jackie's hand so he can like use like a bit of intangibility to go inside Shandu's body to search, because he gotta randomly search. He can't see inside his body to pick out the particular talisman he wants, but he has to specifically find the rat talisman that gives Shandu his ultimate, like his realistic form. And so you got to revert him back to a statue so he can they can be able to like keep him from doing any more harm. So yeah, they end up like eventually defeating him. And then of course the talismans are returned to their physical form, and then Valmont and Dark Hands like see them against on the ground when they're trying to. Shandu rolls his palace up, which had all this treasure, which the Dark Hand tried to line their pockets with. But as soon as like he was defeated, all that turned to sand quickly. But then like of course they saw like the talismans lying on the ground, so they figured like, oh we'll score those then as a consolation prize. But yeah, the show is like amazing. I love Jackie Chan Adventures. I will be binge watching season 2 because believe that is the season when they're dealing with like Shandu's kin next to these other demonic creatures who, ironically, like I said, even more powerful than even Shandu is. And they got their own variants of the Shadow Khan, which is, and they got their own little special abilities, which is like very, very interesting. So I'll be binge watching that after I'm done binge watching some Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 2 with the Battle City stuff. But yeah, leave a comment below. Let me know which episode is your favorite, which talisman is your favorite. When did you get into Jackie Chan Adventures? Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff to Talkative Carl on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. And I will see you all next time for another live discussion, which there's gonna be a couple coming up soon just before my birthday. So I would, or something I've been wanting to do for a minute, and I just figured, not just to get out of the way, but something I just inherently been thinking about doing for a minute, and just other stuff just took precedent. But we definitely want to do it some point next week before my birthday. Just something a little special for me, for myself, and for you guys, just to learn a little bit more about me. And so look forward to that. So take care, be safe, and I will see you all soon for more video game walkthroughs tomorrow. So take care, bye bye.